Cold War with the Soviet Union. The Soviets' intention was to spread communism in the United States and not agree. The Cold War was a conflict between the United States and Soviet Union, dominating global affairs and U.S. foreign policy. The war was never fought on the battlefield. Truman became president after Roosevelt's death. Americans doubted Truman to serve as president. Stalin was the leader of the Soviet Union at the time. He was a brutal leader to the people. The Soviet Union had satellite nations. The satellite nations were countries dominated by the SU. The United States wanted to contain the spreading of communism to any other countries. So therefore, the Iron Curtain was established to divide Europe into the western and eastern halves. The Truman Doctrine helped economic and military aid to freed nations that felt threatened by internal or external opponents. The Marshall Plan was instead to give all European nations aid that needed it. 16 countries got $13 billion in aid over the next 4 years. Stalin saw the opportunity to take over part of Berlin. He decided to close all highway and railroad routes into West Berlin. The United States flew food and supplies into West Berlin. 2.3 million tons of supplies were flown in. The Soviets lifted the blockade in May 1949. The Western Europe feared the Soviet Union increased because of the Berlin blockade. 10 Western European nations formed a defensive military alliance called the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. The Soviets had figured out that the U.S. had already came up with the atomic bomb. The Soviets later came up with an atomic bomb of their own. Both countries were in the race to create the first hydrogen bomb. This bomb was even more destructive than the atomic bomb. The United States had won this race. The Hungarian people were in an uprising. Since WW2, the SU dominated the country. These people of Hungary wanted a democracy. The Soviets had a quick response, killing about 30,000 Hungarians. The Soviets had control, and the United States did nothing to help Hungary. Gorbach was the Soviet president after Stalin died. He had new strategies. His plan for Soviet reconstruction was to open criticism of the Soviet government and to allow freedom of press. Before Gorbach resigned, he told the satellite nations to go towards being a democracy. The federation, known as the Commonwealth of Independent States, soon took place of the Soviet Union. President George Bush and Russian President Yeltsin declared an end to the Cold War. Yeltsin and Bush signed the START Pact in January of 1993. November 9, 1969, East Germany opened the Berlin Wall for the first time in 28 years, allowing free passage. East Germany soon held its first free election, and the two German nations were once united again.